song from Finding Neverland, the Broadway musical, was just here a couple months ago. And when Danielle and I heard it, we knew we had to have her sing it. I have a calling, and it is the thing that makes me keep going. It is the thing that makes me get up over and over again and try when I think I can't, when I think it's too much, when I think it's useless, when I think, why does it matter? When I think I'm not important. When I think, I've done this already. It's what keeps me getting up again and again and again. And try again. All that matters now is where I go from here. It doesn't matter what I did before. It doesn't matter who I was before. It doesn't matter how many times I've failed. I have a calling. And my calling is to make the world better by example, by practice, by teaching, by sharing, by learning. By learning. By being constantly open to hearing something and trying it, to exploring my life and my beliefs and my theology and my practices and see where I could make a difference, where I could shift something and live life better than I am right now, where the world might be better than I am right now. I'm not alone in this. I don't think I'm special. In fact, research shows that the most successful people, the most accomplished people on the planet do this. They get up every time they fall down and try and learn from it and try again. I'm going to introduce you to some of my personal heroes. This is Alexandra Scott. Ever since she could remember, she was sick. She didn't remember being well. At the age of 1, she was diagnosed with cancer and started treatments. At the age of 4, when she was in the hospital, she turned and said to her mother, "When I get out of the hospital, I want to have a lemonade stand so that I can raise money to help kids with cancer. Get the same treatments I'm getting." So she did. The help of her older brother. I'm sorry, I might get through this. With the help of her older brother, she started a lemonade stand. And she raised $2,000. By the time she was 8, she passed away. But she had raised $1 million in lemonade stands to help people just like her. She knew what was hers to do. She had a purpose and a passion, and she made a difference. Her family, wow, I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. That's what makes you good.
Thank you. Our family continued, and the Lemonade Foundation, Lemonade Stand Foundation, has now raised $100 million for cancer research. All that matters is where I go from here. Her family continued that. continued that understanding, and it made a difference in hundreds, if not thousands, of lives. Jane Golden, at 21 years old, was diagnosed with lupus. And she knew that there'd be no cure. The doctors told her that it would be a very painful, painful life. So she moved back home to Philadelphia and she started an arts foundation to help eradicate graffiti in Philadelphia. And it has turned into the largest art foundation that does this kind of work. She does murals all over Philadelphia. And it's the largest organization of its kind in the world. When interviewed about her work and about her disease, she says, well, this is what I have to do. And I want to quote it because it's so Martin. Everything I do is in a spirit of service. I feel driven by it. It's a moral imperative. Putting it more succinctly, she says, art saves lives. Art saves lives. And it's so true. It's so true. But asked about her disease, she says, oh yeah, some days I cannot believe how much pain I'm in. But it does me no good to complain. So I don't. I just get up and I keep doing it. Some days I think I can't roll that boulder up the hill one more time. But her colleagues that work with her say they describe her as someone who's working on an election campaign, and it's the night before the election every day of the week. And the election never seems to come. And that they constantly are working because life is that important. And then this woman, Angela Duckworth, was told repeatedly by her father when she was a child, you're no genius. You're no genius. And her brothers and sisters were also told, you're not any genius. She would be sitting there on the floor in their home watching television, and in the commercial breaks she'd hear it over and over again, you're no genius. He was deeply concerned about how smart his children were, what their IQ was, and concerned about how they would make a living in the world. Apparently, all of his children were a great disappointment to him. Her dad worried that their intellectual handicap would limit what they'd accomplish in the world. 5 years ago, she was fortunate enough to be awarded the MacArthur Fellowship, sometimes called the Genius Grant. And the thing about the MacArthur Fellowship is that you can't nominate yourself for it. Your colleagues and your peers have to nominate you for it. And it's given to people who are extraordinary in their field. What Angela studies, and what Angela talks about, is passion and perseverance. What makes a difference in life? And she studies it at Penn, where she's a professor, and wrote a book called Grit. The Power of Passion and Perseverance. She talks about how every single one of us can develop this ability, this grit, and make our lives better every single day. And then make the world better every single day. And she's narrowed it down to a couple things. So she's one of my heroes because I've been living in her book and living in her research for weeks and weeks now. What's amazing about her too is that she follows the principles and she lays them out for us. So Angela talks about, we all have this, and she's done research that backs it up, we all have this natural talent bias. That we think that people are naturally talented and therefore they're successful. But her research proves that actually there are many people who possess much natural talent in any field. But that does have no effect on whether they'll actually be successful in the field or not. It's the perseverance and the practice and the doggedness and the commitment that makes a difference in people's success. That many, many talented people drop out when it gets hard. That many, many naturally talented people don't appreciate their talent, don't appreciate what they're doing. But it's the ones that are been hooked by passion, hooked by what is going on inside of them that makes a difference. So, at many graduation ceremonies, how many of you have been to a graduation ceremony? Or several, or hundreds, right? They're in June, it's hot and it's sweltering, you're either in an auditorium or you're outside in some field and the sun is baking you, and some keynote address usually gets up and says to you, okay, so follow your passion. Don't worry about how you'll make your money, follow your passion. And Angela talks about it this way. She goes, that's a great advice, and I really, really agree with it, to follow your passion. But we talk about passion and following your passion like it's something that just instantly hits you. You see something and you know what your passion is. And her research goes on to prove, and she shows, that passion is something that is developed. We have an innate liking for something. We have an interest in something. And it takes time to develop a passion. You may be in your 30s, your 40s, or your 50s and not know what your passion is yet. It may take you a long time to understand what your passion really is. And it takes practice to know that if it's going to stick, that 1 year or 2 years later or 10 years later, this is the thing that's going to keep you getting up again and trying something else. So passion is incredibly important, but it's not all that's important. It's also purpose. Right? Passion combined with purpose is essential. So there's a parable that I'd like to share with you, and it's called the parable of the bricklayers. Has anyone heard the parable of the bricklayers? So these three men, at the time, it was a long time ago, were laying bricks, right? And they were building a church. And the first one was asked, what are you doing? The first says, I'm laying bricks. The second one was asked, what are you doing? And he said, I'm building a church. And the third one was asked, and he said, I'm building the house of God. And they're all doing the exact same job. But they have three different approaches to it. One of them sees it as a job. The second sees it as a career. I'm making a church. This will lead me to my next step in my career, where I'll build a nicer or a bigger church or a better church, and I'll make more money. And the third sees it as a calling. It's my job to build the house of God. Calling. Most of us would like to identify with the third bricklayer and call whatever we're doing our calling. But her research shows that most people, when interviewed, pick one or two, not the third. But here's the thing. She's also identified that you can switch. You can change whatever you're doing into your calling. That you can do the mental work and the personal work necessary to adjust that and to shift. When you stop thinking of your job as a stepping stone to the next, or you're laying bricks as a stepping stone to the next, and are fully present in the moment of what you're doing, and building a home, and building a place for others, you're living in your purpose. Your purpose can be something that's outside of yourself. Purpose can be and should be something that exists for other people. Now, we're here in a church, believe it or not. We sometimes call this a spiritual center, but it is a church. We sing songs, say prayers, and listen to a talk on Sunday. So it sounds like a cat to me. So, a cat by any other name. We're here in a church, and I think it is our job. I think it is part of my job to ask us to look beyond ourselves, to look beyond what would personally make our lives better into what would make the planet better. And Unity has been very introspective looking for its 125 years because we believe in the power of affirmation. We believe in the power of positive thought, that our thoughts change our lives and therefore the world. But what if we approach it from the other way? What is it that I could do for the world? What if we approached it from the place of being in service? Service to something greater than ourselves. So that no matter what your job is right now, actress, singer, bricklayer, mom, dad, minister, writer, architect, dancer, teacher, that you approached it as your purpose. And if you are living in your purpose, that what you do every morning gets you excited, gets you up, and makes you try it again and again and again. Now, I like to think that grit, that ability to keep persevering through adversity, through setbacks, through downfalls, through pain, the perseverance to win Olympic medals. That's grit, right? We all recognize it when we see it. Oh my God, to get up and practice at 4 a.m., to be on the beam or in the swimming pool or on the track day after day after day. If you're like me, you've signed up for the gym so many times and never make it back, right? But that's not what I'm talking about, because those things are external motivators. When there's something that's an internal motivator, right? An internal motivator that you want to make something better for the world. Right? That's your calling, your purpose. Then there's a reason to be caught up in it. So I like to call it faith. And faith has sometimes a bad connotation because it's come to mean in our society, in our culture. Faith means to be that you believe a certain set of doctrines said by a certain church or a certain piece of scripture that something really happened. But that's not what faith means to me. And I hope it's not what it means to you. Faith means to me that there's a belief that I can make a difference. There's a belief that there's an energy and a field of energy that I call God actively working in my life. That the faith I hold is that if I show up and I do the work and I keep getting up, that there will be a way. Amen. There will be a way, and a way will open up. Henry Ford put it this way. He says, whether you think you can or not, you're right. Right? It's like, and the data shows that when you keep searching for ways to change your situation for the better, you stand a chance of finding it. But if you give up, you won't. But if you keep getting up and keep getting up, you will find the way through it and you will succeed. That's faith. Despite all appearances, you get up again. Now, that doesn't mean you're not flexible. It means in fact that you're totally flexible, that you keep finding new ways to get to the larger goal down the line. What it means is you're not attached to how you get there. That's grit. It doesn't have to be this job. It doesn't have to be this person. It doesn't have to be this city. It doesn't have to be my way. But we get there. We keep trying one after the other until we become it. Grit's always taking you towards your true purpose when you align it. And there's two ways that Angela talks about you can do it. You can grow your grit from the inside out, which means that you are constantly looking at your failures, welcoming them as a chance to see where you went wrong, what you could do differently, what you can learn from it. Has anybody here failed? A couple times maybe? Yeah. A few times? So, did it stop you?
No.
Or did you use it to get up and try again a different way? And if it stopped you, that's okay. Because right now, look at that. Why did it stop you? Why did it stop you in your tracks? What can you change right now in this moment and learn from, so that you can get up again and again? As Angela says, "You're no genius," my dad used to say to me when I was a little girl. She said, I realize now that he was talking to himself as much as he was talking to me. If you define genius as being able to accomplish great things in life without effort, then he was right. I'm no genius. And neither is he. But she says, instead, if you define genius as working towards excellence ceaselessly with every element of your being, and in fact, you are, my dad is, and every single one of us is a genius. You're a genius. So if you are willing, if you're ready, if you're game and you've got the grit, you can live towards your purpose. That's something bigger than yourself. Through passion and perseverance. Like the perseverance it took Melissa to make 1,000 of these. And live for something bigger than you. And live your dream. We have a great example of it here. We have a member of our congregation that you may or may not know. She's only been here for about 6 months, 7 months now?
Not even 5.
5? Wow. And she gave up a career at Amazon, a high-powered career in what she had studied for and went to school for, and went back to her true passion, is playing music. She's here at the conservatory, and her final recital is on next Sunday.
It's Mother's Day, right after service and right after Laura's fantastic divine talk at 2 o'clock at the San Francisco Conservatory.
So we've invited Cynthia Ryan to lead us into meditation today by playing her viola for us and setting us up to understand the countless hours of practice and failure and success that leads to this moment where she's going to graduate, not only with her master's next week, but she also just got accepted to the Aspen Music Festival.
Wow.
Great.
So, let us take this to our time of meditation.